Is the California and Los Angeles housing market in serious trouble? Well, right now, we're dangerously officially close to a buyer's market. Inventory is rising fast, prices are softening, home sales have dropped to lower levels than the Great Recession. And according to many analysts, the problem isn't just the homes, it's that nobody is buying them. So today, we're going to break down what's happening in the Los Angeles real estate market and why so many people in California and Los Angeles are sitting on the sideline. I'm Scott Himelstein with the Scott Himelstein Group, your Los Angeles realtor. And today we're diving into the real story, what's happening here in the California and Los Angeles housing market in June of 2025. So a new report from Newsweek paints a really grim picture. Rising listings, collapsing demand, and the biggest buyer-seller imbalance that we've seen in years. But this isn't just about the stats. It comes down to a lot of things such as affordability, psychology, what's next for anyone trying to buy or sell a home here in California as well as Los Angeles. So let's start with what a buyer's market really means. And so basically to have a buyer's market, you essentially need to have about 6 months worth of inventory on the market. And that means that if no other properties, no other condos, townhouses, single family homes came on the market for 6 months, it would take you 6 months to be able to sell all that inventory. And that's up from where we were not too long ago, where basically we're hovering around 2 to 2.5 months of inventory. So when you have basically an even market, nobody has an advantage, right? The seller doesn't have an advantage, the buyers don't have an advantage. So that means that you really need to have about 6 months of inventory on the market right now. And that's what we pretty much have, right? So it's when the number of homes, like we're talking about, for sale exceeds the number of people trying to buy them. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now here in Los Angeles and California. So according to one real estate analyst, Nick Gerli, he said, no one is buying homes in California. Sales are just sitting below the Great Recession levels, right? And it's not because homes are not available. It's because a lot of the buyers are backing away. And that has to do with a lot with the sky-high prices, the elevated mortgage rates, which are sitting close to 7%, and the big one, growing uncertainty about the economy. The seeds of this crisis were planted during the pandemic, and as remote work took off, many Californians left expensive cities like San Francisco and Los Angeles for more affordable areas, or even left the state entirely. So prices kind of dipped briefly in early 2020, but then they surged and they kept rising steadily. Here in LA County, over the pandemic, we saw prices rise about 35% countywide. And now, 5 years later, the damage is clear. Home values are still up, basically like 1 to 2% year over year, but the home sales, right, they're stuck. And for most people, affordability is worse than ever. And in LA County, your affordability is basically only 16% of the population in LA County can afford to buy the average median price right now. Here's where it gets interesting, that back in May, there were over 73,000 active homes for sale in California. And that's the highest number we've seen since before the pandemic. And that number is climbing. And nationwide, the housing inventory rose more than 30% year over year in May. And California matched that trend, as did Los Angeles County. For Los Angeles County, it's 45% year over year. But even with more homes on the market, the sales remain frozen. In April, California saw about 25,100 home sales. That's up slightly from last year, but still 40% below the pandemic peak and 20% under the long-term average. So in short, supply is back, but the demand isn't. Redfin data shows that several California metro areas are among the most lopsided in the country. Riverside, for example, has a 61% buyer-seller imbalance. Sacramento, 45%. Los Angeles, 45%. Anaheim and Oakland around 38%. And this means that homes are sitting longer and the price cuts are becoming more common, and the old rules about bidding wars just don't apply right now. In April, the median sales price of a California home was $854,700, and that's up 0.2% from a year earlier. Now, the average home value around $796,000 in the state of California, up 1.3% year over year. But from March to April, prices dropped by 0.42% in California, and that's the fourth month in a row the values declined here in California. And it was the fourth biggest drop in the United States. So prices are softening, but they're still historically high. And because mortgage rates are still close to 7%, most buyers aren't seeing enough of a discount to justify jumping in. Why aren't buyers acting right now? Well, according to Oscar Way of the California Association of Realtors, it's not just about prices, it's about psychology. The bottom line is that people are waiting for rates to come down. They're nervous about inflation, they're watching tariffs and economic uncertainty, and they're just not confident this is the right time to buy right now. So I'll give you a couple of examples that we're experiencing ourselves. So we have a couple buyers right now. One spouse works for the city. They're constantly worried about imminent layoffs right now due to the fiscal issues that the city of Los Angeles has. And as a result, they've put off buying a property right now. We also have another client right now, a buyer that her boss got recently let go. And so she doesn't even know what's going to happen to her entire department, right? So she doesn't know she's going to be employed in 30 to 60 days. So they have actually put off buying a property right now. And so I think right now, like the buyers, there's a lot of angst right now when it comes to buying a home. And so a lot of them, they just kind of want to wait and see what happened. We literally recently just had one this past week where a buyer canceled because with everything going on around the world right now, they just felt it wasn't the right time to buy. And the fact they were able to get a great deal on the house and they actually were in escrow on their house. And so they canceled both transactions just because they felt it wasn't the right time to buy. So you're seeing a lot of more cancellations and things like that. So Hannah Jones from Realtor.com, I think said it best. She says, home ownership is out of reach for many would-be buyers right now. And I think when you put the financial strains of home ownership with everything going on right now, I think putting those together and stirring the pot, it makes it really difficult for a lot of buyers to jump off the fence. So what's going to happen next? Well, I think for starters, we have to kind of take a look and take a step back because you have what's going on in the whole state of California, and then you have what's going on here in Los Angeles. And case in point, we have a client that's going to be selling their home in the Temecula, Menifee area here in California, obviously much more inland. And right now in their planned unit development, there are currently 29 properties for sale, and they're going to be the 30th. So in a situation like that, right, when you have that much competition, price is definitely going to be a factor. Now here in the Los Angeles County, in most of LA County, right, even though the inventory has increased a lot. So for example, 91326, which I always go back to in Porter Ranch, we started out at 44 at the beginning of the year. We were in the high 60s at the end of April, and we're currently, as of recording this video, we're at 116 properties for sale. But homes are still selling here, much more here in LA County than you are in the interior areas of the state, right? So again, going back to 91326, you will currently have right now 40 properties in escrow. Are sales down? Yes. As of this video being recorded right now, you currently have 14 properties that have closed escrow in this one zip code alone. But homes are selling. And some of them we're seeing with multiple offers. The homes that are in great condition, great location, right, that are move-in ready. The buyers, they don't want to have to put out a lot of money to remodel a home, especially with the cost of actually buying a home and how much they have to come in with the down payment. They want to be able to move right in. So a lot of homes are still selling with multiple offers here in LA County, which is quite different than what you're seeing in the more interior areas of the state. Now, that being said, if the floor plan's not the best, or maybe the condition's not the best, and you're not priced right, you are going to sit on the market. The buyers are going to pass on your home because they have more homes to choose from right now. All right, so experts expect right now prices to dip slightly through the second half of the year in California. Zillow predicts home values will fall at least in 31 California cities: San Francisco, San Jose, Sacramento, Los Angeles, and San Diego among them. But here's the caveat. It's not going to be a crash. I think it's going to be more of a recalibration. Most analysts expect kind of mild corrections here in Los Angeles County, and with active listings possibly plateauing soon because of the time of year that you're looking at right now, supply might not be growing at this pace as we move forward, because this is the kind of the heart still of this spring buying season right here before we hit the middle of the summer. So here we are, kind of stuck in this housing market where it's actually technically better for buyers, but a lot of buyers still aren't buying. And yet at the same time, a lot of homes are still selling, right, if they're in great condition like we're talking about. So let me know what you're finding right now out there in the housing market. And if you have any questions about the Los Angeles housing market, feel free to reach out to me. I'm Scott Himelstein with the Scott Himelstein Group, and thanks for watching this video.
Bye.